Everyone who comes through the factory always says, wow, there's so much more handmade component to this than we thought. You know, it is so much hands-on. In the old days, people used to, hand make guitars, and that means, and people sort of say, well, that's great, they're handmade. Probably 80% of our process is handmade, but the fundamental guitar is cut out in CNC machine, as with most manufacturers. What that means is that necks are consistent. You don't have a fat neck and a thin neck and one that sounded like this and one that sounded like that as individual people do it. With old guitars it tends to be like that, and it's the luck of the draw as to what kind of guitar you've got. These days guitars are very, very consistent, but the actual timbre itself, two different bits of timbre sound different, even if they're the same species. And then when you get different species, they sound very different, which is why you need to play the guitar, find one that that just works for you.
The thing with Cole Clark is that they're about the other guy, rock stars are always going to sound great. They've got $2 million sound systems and 3 guitar techs working round the clock for them, roadies all over the place. But the guys like myself who've got to plug into a PA that belongs in a museum, 200 nights a year across the world, you end up with a Cole Clark getting a lot more control over your own sound. And I think that that's what we build guitars for here, That's why so many of our endorsees aren't your big rock stars. They're just really great players with a really great sense of tone. They want to have control over their playing, and that's what Cole Clark gives them, I think, above any other pickup system on the market.
Today we're going to have a look at a particular model we're doing. It's a limited release model with a clinky top, which is a Queensland timber. It's got a Tasmanian blackwood back and sides. It's got a Queensland maple neck, Indian rosewood fretboard, and a blackwood fascia. So it's a really nice guitar. It's got a blackwood arrow rosette, so it's got a particular look to it. We start with raw timber, which comes from Tasmania, Queensland, India, Alaska. We start with that raw timber. We cut that up from, in many cases, logs or cut pieces of quarter-sawn timber. We cut that down into the sizes that can be machined on the CNC machines. It then goes on the CNC machines and cut into the components of the guitars. That is necks, bridges, fretboards, faces, sides, backs. We use large bed CNC machines, which are 5-axis machines. Many manufacturers use 3-axis. This allows us to do a lot more without changing jigs and able the tool to move in a way that the 3-axis machine tool doesn't move. Once a component is cut, it's got to be prepared to go on the guitar. So we might have a face cut, but it needs to have the rosette round the sound hole put on. It needs to have an outer face line put on. So those features get the slots for the inlays to go in. They're cut on the CNC machine, but then by hand we've got to glue all those parts in, and that's preparing the component for assembly. The next thing that goes on is that the guitar gets built. So we put the body together. We've got a patented method of putting that together using the integral neck system, which actually, in our case, puts the neck onto the body at the same time. Most people build the body and then they attach a neck to it. We actually build the body with the neck attached to it all at the same time. So we end up with the neck on at the right angle, attached to the face, attached to the sides, attached to the back, all in one piece, ready to go to final assembly. Sound-wise, we feel the transference of sound is absolutely first rate when you have the integral neck. You've got more neck material under the neck where the face is, so that you have a very straight line the whole of the fretboard, whereas the technique of attaching the neck to an already completed body generally leaves an area around the 12th to 14th fret. That becomes a bend point, so that you might have a flat bit of fretboard on the body, but the neck, you know, as it moves, it gets older, takes off at a different angle, and then to fix that is quite difficult. So we get a very straight line from one end to the other. With ours, everyone is exactly the same. It's and can be put together by anybody. So it's a very good technique, we feel. Once that's happened, we've got the neck on the guitar. It goes up to body sanding. It gets sanded down, ready for paint. The binding gets put on if it's a guitar with binding. The fretboard gets put on. The frets on the fretboard are prepared earlier, and so that's ready then to go to the paint shop. We use nitro, traditional nitro paint. We have a very thin layer of satin finish. At this stage we don't do gloss finish guitars. When you put gloss on a guitar, it deadens the sound. It stops this guitar from vibrating. Sound is vibration, and the more you do to stop that vibration, the less open the guitar is. We go for a very thin layer of nitro in a satin finish, which lets our guitar speak the most. Aesthetically, some people like gloss, and at some point in the future we will do gloss again, but it's not something that's high on our agenda because it doesn't make the guitar sound as good. The final part is that the bridge gets glued on, and then the machine heads get put on, the guitar gets set up, the nut gets put on, the bridge saddle gets put on, the pickup gets installed if it's got a pickup. So from the setup shop comes the final guitar. The guitar goes down to dispatch, where we do a final quality check, so it gets someone outside the manufacturing section to do a quality check who's not been too close to the guitar right the way through, so they're very independent look at it. You know, we look for blemishes, for angles, for anything that might have gone wrong in production. Unless it's right, it doesn't go out.
You know, obviously your Jack Johnsons and Snow Patrol and Xavier Rudd and all these sorts of people that we endorse, they're always wonderful people to have on board. And what I love about that is that very few of them were hunted by us. We didn't go and looking to give guitars to these people. These are just people who either had our guitars already or came looking for our guitars because they'd heard such great things, tried a few in stores and decided we could do something mutual between the two of us. And you know, nobody is forced to play our guitars, no one's paid to play them, and there's no piece of paper that forces them to do it. So, you know, both the rock stars and the travelling musicians alike, they're all doing it by choice, which is one of the best things about this company.
Magnificent things, guitars. They're just it's wonderful. You know, you get in every day and you're making this fantastic product that's just very special.